India, where the apex court has transferred the Kathua gang rape and murder case to the Pathankot court. The Supreme Court, after transferring the Kathua case to Pathankot court, said that the day-to-day hearing would take place in the matter. In-camera proceedings would also be held. Next date of the hearing in the case is slated for July 9th. Let's get in further details from our correspondent, Jessica Taneja, who's been tracking the developments very closely. Jessica, what exactly has the court said?
Well, the court has given out an order, Molly, in which it has, in fact, addressed the prayer of the victim's family, which wanted to move the case outside the Kathua district, and now it will be in Pathankot, as we all know. So the case is going to be fast-tracked and heard on a day-to-day basis in camera proceedings. Of course, it also falls under the ambit of the POCSO Act, which sort of prevents the details of the case to be sent out, or it really depends on the parties, but this time it's been chosen to be in camera.
In camera proceedings and also security for the family members of the victim, Jessica?
Absolutely, Molly. That's exactly what the court has said. Even earlier, the court had made sure that the Jammu and Kashmir government provide adequate security not only to the victim's family, but also to the accused, and also something very significant as witness protection of the country has been seen, right? And the courts are very serious about witness protection. So, of course, protection to the victims as well, and the witnesses, and as well as Deepika Rajout, who's a lawyer, initially representing, the deceased 8-year-old, girl and her family. So, adequate security, of course, provided, as well as there were talks about even providing accommodation in and around Pathankot, because remember, we're dealing with families, or we're looking at families in this particular case who are not economically, stable. So, of course, it's very difficult for them to spend nights and nights and day after day when the case will be heard every day. So, their accommodation is also being looked at by and cared by, taken care by, in fact, the Jammu and Kashmir state.
And to those uninitiated, Jessica, elaborate for our viewers the reasoning and the arguments that were made by the counsel for the victim's family for having the case shifted outside of Kathua.
Well, extensive arguments took place today, Molly. In fact, interestingly today, the bench changed, and we saw the newly appointed, judge of the apex court, Justice Indu Malhotra, also taking also listening to this particular case. She was also the part of this bench. And whereas Indra Jaising, senior lawyer who's representing the victim's family, had outright, she said that she wants to transfer the case and investigation done. Investigation is still pending according to the charge sheet. And she said there were factors that warrant a transfer, and those factors being there was witness influence. The accused were organizing rallies, she said. And she also said, the release of one of the main convicts, Sanjiram, is also another issue. And she said there have been various campaigns which are undermining the case at this point in time. And therefore, this case needs to be transferred outside that district where there is already a lot of polarization and communal disharmony has settled in.
Yes.
So this is exactly what she said. But the Jammu and Kashmir government said, in fact, retaliated and retorted and said that the state procedure will take care of these arrangements and it will ensure a fair and transparent trial.
Another crucial demand that was made by the petition, Jessica, was for the probe to be handed over to the Central Bureau of Investigation. We believe the court has ruled out a CBI probe.
Absolutely, the court has ruled that out for reasons we haven't been certainly given. But the victims' family, were represented by Indra Jaising, was also the same view that the CBI probe was not really desired at this point in time. So basically, what she also said was that the charge sheet misses out, or there's still some pending investigation remaining at this point in time, and that also needs to be worked up on. And no further sort of submission will be made as to why or whether or not they need to involve the CBI at this point.
Absolutely. Stay with me, Jessica. Big breaking developments coming in from India, where the apex court has transferred the Kathua gang rape and murder case to Pathankot court. Remember, as Jessica, our correspondent who was present in the court when the proceedings took place, has outlined for us extensive arguments that were made by the counsel for the victim's family, outlining the reasoning and the arguments for why the case should be shifted outside of Kathua. The case has been shifted now to Pathankot, but at the same time, a crucial demand that was made by the petition was for a probe to be handled by the Central Bureau of Investigation, for the case to be handed over to the agency. But that's something that the court has ruled out at this point. The court has also ordered for in-camera proceedings, has also said that security will be provided to the family members of the victim. The next date of hearing in the case is slated for July the 9th. Jessica, the arguments surrounding the case to be handed over to the CBI, tell us a little bit more about what happened inside court.
Well, there were really not many arguments around that, Molly, because it was pretty much put out straightforward by Indra Jaising, the senior lawyer representing the victim's family, that she did not want a CBI probe, and there was not much talked about at that point in time. But wherein the Supreme Court had happily agreed to her prayer, in which she did not want a CBI probe. As you were pointing out, the charge sheet still mentions that an investigation is pending. So involving the CBI was not something that the victim's family was in fact demanding. So the Supreme Court has already taken that into consideration.
Absolutely. The next date of hearing in the case is July 9th. Jessica, also speaking of the fact that the court has outlined for in-camera proceedings, this is also something that was discussed as the victim's family had outlined the demand in the run-up to the proceedings as well.
Well, absolutely, because in-camera proceedings, only if you see, are usually part of the POCSO Act, the Protection of Children from Sexual Abuses Act of 2012. It is already a part of that. So, of course, given that into consideration, this in-camera proceeding demand was to be considered come what may. So, if you look at how this has been viewed, it's just fair and acceptable, and that this demand was not made very specific. It was already understood by court that this would, in fact, go to become an in-camera proceeding any which way.
All right, we're going to leave it there for the moment. Jessica Taneja getting us the very latest on this big breaking development on the Kathua gang rape and murder case. Remember, an 8-year-old girl who was gang raped and murdered in Jammu and Kashmir's Kathua. The case has now taken a crucial turn, wherein it will now be shifted and handed over to the Pathankot court. This is after the victim's family and the counsel on the behalf of the victim's family had argued that the case, for the benefit of the security of the family members, should be shifted out of Kathua. And that is one of the crucial orders that have been given out by the court today. The court also maintaining that in-camera proceedings will be held and security will be provided to the victim's family. The next date for hearing the case is July 9th.